Hello and welcome. Today, we're going to dive into a really fascinating framework that's designed to completely change how schools and trusts think about improvement. It's called Transformed Fabric, and the whole idea is to weave a much clearer, more direct path to excellence for everyone.
So here's how we're gonna break it down. First, we'll get into the big challenge, the puzzle that so many school leaders are trying to solve every single day. Then we'll introduce Fabric and talk about it as a new kind of operating system. After that, we'll see how it actually turns a diagnosis into a clear plan. And finally, we'll look at the bigger vision it offers for the future of education.
All right, so let's start right at the beginning with the problem itself, what we're calling the school improvement puzzle. And if you're in education, you know this is a challenge that is all too real.
I mean, just think about it for a second. If you're leading a school or a trust, you are juggling a million moving parts. So how on earth do you get a single clear view of what's really going on? It's a huge, complex question.
This image just captures it perfectly, doesn't it? You've got all these different threads of information: leadership, classroom standards, school culture, student data. The real struggle is weaving them all together into something that actually makes sense, something that gives you a complete, actionable picture. Otherwise, you're just left staring at a bunch of disconnected puzzle pieces. And this is exactly where the old school methods start to break down. You do separate audits, you have these disconnected improvement plans, and what happens? You end up constantly putting out fires, or you launch so many new initiatives that your staff is completely overwhelmed. It's clear there has to be a better way to get focused. And that better way is what we're digging into next. We're shifting from the problem to the solution, this idea of a new operating system for schools, which is Transformed Fabric. So what is Fabric really? Well, at its heart, it's a single operating system designed specifically for educational development. That weaving metaphor is absolutely key here. Fabric is built to pull all those separate bits, your assessments, your strategy, your improvement cycles, into one unified, intelligent framework. The whole system is built on a really clear structure. At the highest level, you have what are called strands. You can think of these as the main pillars of any effective school. The big stuff like leadership or the quality of teaching. They give you a structured way to look at the whole organization. And then when you dig a little deeper, you get to the threads. Now these are the super detailed, observable statements inside each strand. And we're not talking about vague goals here. We're talking about precise definitions of what best practice actually looks like on the ground. For instance, a thread could be attendance interventions are evidence-led. See? It's specific and it's actionable. This table really shows you how it all snaps together. You can see the entire hierarchy laid out. It starts with the big picture, the whole fabric. Then it breaks down into strands, like governance, and then gets even more granular with a specific thread. And from there, look, it links directly to the evidence you need, the actions you should take, and even the individual tasks. It creates this perfect line of sight from your highest level strategy all the way down to what someone needs to do tomorrow morning.
Okay, so that's the structure. Now, let's get into the fun part and see how it actually works in the real world, how it takes you from just diagnosing a problem to having a crystal clear direction for what to do next.
It all kicks off with stage 1, discover and diagnose. This is where the system evaluates a school or a trust across all of its key strands. The important thing here is that this isn't based on gut feelings or hunches. It's a systematic, data-driven look at the entire operation.
The framework is pretty neatly split into two main parts. On one side, you've got leadership and management. Think of this as the school's engine room, the stuff that makes it all run, like HR, finance, and governance. And on the other side, you have standards and provision. This is the educational core, everything from the curriculum and teaching quality to attendance. This two-part structure guarantees you're looking at the whole picture.
And the result of that whole diagnostic process is this, the performance heat map. This is amazing. It gives leaders an instant, color-coded dashboard of their performance. Green is where you're strong, and the orange and red quickly show you the areas that need some love. This isn't about pointing fingers. It's about getting a really precise, evidence-based "you are here" map, so you know exactly where to focus your energy. So now you've got the diagnosis, you've got the map, but insight without action is pretty useless, right? So that brings us to the next crucial phase, building the improvement roadmap and turning all that data into a real plan. And the process is so smart. First, the system does a gap analysis, comparing where you are to best practice to figure out the root causes of any issues. Then, and this is the really clever part, it automatically generates concrete improvement actions based on those low-scoring threads. Finally, and this is so important, it sequences all those actions into a prioritized roadmap for you. And this is what you get, the improvement roadmap. But notice, it's not just some giant, terrifying to-do list. It intelligently sorts your actions into quick wins, medium-term goals, and bigger strategic initiatives. It's this structure that helps prevent that initiative overload we talked about, giving leaders a plan that's both ambitious and actually achievable. All right, for our last section, let's zoom out a bit. Because Fabric isn't really just about fixing today's problems. It's about building a sustainable culture of excellence that lasts long into the future. This is how Fabric becomes this living, breathing system within your school. It's not a one-and-done audit that you file away. Through things like ongoing tracking, automatic updates to your roadmaps, and deep insights for your board, it creates a continuous improvement loop that just becomes part of your organization's DNA. And the ultimate payoff of this entire approach is alignment. It creates that clear, unbroken line of sight we mentioned earlier, from the nitty-gritty of classroom practice all the way up to the strategic conversations happening in the boardroom. Everybody is working from a single source of truth, all pulling in the same direction. I just love this quote from the source material. It captures the ambition of this whole idea perfectly. It reframes school improvement, changing it from a chore of compliance to an act of creation. It's not just about hitting targets, it's about giving you a canvas to actively design the future you want for your students. And so, that really leaves us with one final, powerful question to think about. If you had a framework that gave you this kind of clarity, this level of insight, and this kind of strategic direction, what would you design?